This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. He attacked a pastor inside a Winnipeg church. Now the suspect's older brother tells CBC News he warned doctors not to discharge him from a mental health facility just weeks before. He says his brother had been hearing voices telling him to carry out an attack on a priest. CBC's Zubina Ahmed has the story.
This happened during a Sunday service at the Holy Ghost Parish in Winnipeg. A man trying to attack a pastor with a knife. The pastor managed to get away without any injuries. A 50-year-old man has been charged with several offenses, including assault with a weapon. The brother of the accused says he has a long history of mental illness. He says his brother admitted himself to the Health Sciences Center in early January. It was then he received texts from his brother saying he was hearing voices to carry out an attack.
He checked himself in, and here's the text message that he actually sent me.
Okay.
Do you know why I am in the hospital? Because I hear voices to kill a priest to save my own life.
The man, who CBC is not naming for safety reasons, says he immediately called the hospital about the concerning texts. He says 2 days later he got more messages from his brother. The text said,
I told her, I feel threatened and I will leave. When I leave the hospital, I will murder someone in self-defense. And then a moment later he said, good news, they're letting me out.
He says he immediately called the hospital again, pleading with nurses and a doctor to not discharge his brother.
And I said, he's unstable. He's danger to the society. Can you guarantee that he will not hurt anyone or kill a priest? And there was silence.
Shared Health would not confirm the individual was the patient at HSC because of privacy rules. But in general, it says, discharge is based on the assessments and ongoing treatment needs of each patient, as deemed appropriate by the treating physician or psychiatrist. The man says his brother's doctor explained the reason for the discharge.
And I explained to her, I read the message again. I said about the whole situation. I said, are you guys letting him out? And this is what she responded to me. Quote, he was able to fill out all the forms correctly and has been through the system many times.
Marion Cooper, CEO of the Canadian Mental Health Association, says the health system needs to be improved because people with mental illness are being discharged too quickly.
Because there's such pressure on inpatient resources to have short admissions because there are many people waiting for that kind of service. It's symptomatic of a system that's very stressed and strained and not functioning well.
The man is calling on the province to review his brother's case. He hopes his brother will now get the help he needs. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Norwegian police helped lead Canadian authorities to a suspected child pornographer here in Manitoba. The child exploitation case in that country tipped Brandon police to a local home daycare operator they believed may have been actively abusing children. CBC's Arturo Chang has the details.
It all started with a U.S. nonprofit. They warned Norwegian authorities someone in a district in the outskirts of Oslo had been downloading child abuse material. Local police arrested the man and took his phone. That's where they found images and videos from another person, including some of a child the person said was 2 years old.
They have been writing about sexual abuse of children, like fantasy, but it also seems like it has been physical abuses.
Norway police identified the person as a Canadian man, a Brandon home daycare operator and foster parent, now accused of making child pornography. The Canadian and the Norwegian had been in contact for at least 4 months, they say. The Norwegian authorities warned Canadian police other children may be in danger, leading to the arrest.
This case is special because we have reason to believe that our investigation may have helped to prevent new sexual abuse against children.
We deal with the United States a lot. We deal with the UK a lot.
Gord Olsen from the RCMP's Internet Child Exploitation Unit says they see this kind of collaboration regularly, including during a recent arrest in Newton, Manitoba, involving American partners. Police say perpetrators are getting more tech-savvy, hiding their activities on encrypted messaging platforms. Norwegian police say the men use freely available encrypted services like Kik and Telegram.
It seems that there's a strong lean towards privacy at all costs.
Lloyd Richardson with the Canadian Centre for Child Protection says those kinds of platforms should be doing more to protect children.
There's been a sort of abdication of responsibility on some of these companies for detecting this type of behavior on their services.
The Norwegian man pleaded guilty to possessing abusive material and being complicit in the rape of a child younger than 14. That investigation and the one in Brandon are still ongoing. Arturo Chang, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The police watchdog is investigating after 2 people were injured when a driver fleeing cops hit a car and crashed in a major intersection Monday night. Police say it happened around 11:30 last night when officers sitting in a parked cruiser saw a vehicle speed past them on Henderson Highway. Officers turned on the cruiser's emergency lights and siren and tried to stop it, but it sped off. A short time later, the car rear-ended another vehicle and slammed into a light standard. A passenger ran off but was caught by police on foot. Emergency crews had to free the driver. Both were sent to hospital. The Independent Investigation Unit has taken over the case. The parents of a woman who was killed in Winnipeg's North End are devastated. They say their daughter had been struggling with addictions for years, but was trying to get her life back on track before she died. CBC's Felicia Adam has more.
A mother and father grieving. Their daughter, 35-year-old Shanacine McLeod, was one of 2 people shot and killed on Alfred Avenue Saturday.
We can't believe she's gone. You know, she always comes over. She phones, she messages.
Helen McLeod and David Beauchamp gathered with loved ones not far from where police say she was shot. It's not the first time her family has come together for her. Her parents say she struggled with drugs on and off for years. This was in 2015 outside a home known to police. Shanacine's family was trying to convince her to come home. She came outside,
love you, bye,
but didn't stay. Her parents say in recent years she was working hard to stop using drugs so that she could see her children, but would relapse after struggling to find supports that led her to do that.
When you have a lifestyle like that and you try to get better for yourself, and it is like obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And then it just makes you feel like, okay, why am I doing it? I know why I'm doing this, but it's so hard for me to do this. It's so hard because where's the support? Where's the help?
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a story Sandra De Laurent has seen time and time again. She says it's because of a lack of resources and that it can take months to get help.
Someone who makes a decision to quit often doesn't have that immediate support to do that.
For Shanacine's family, they're left remembering their daughter as outgoing, someone who would help anyone in need.
They took someone very special away. Her kids are struggling really hard with it. And so are we.
Shanacine leaves behind 6 children, the youngest 18 months old. Police say no arrests have been made. Felicia Adam, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Weather specialist Riley Lachuk in. And Riley, unfortunately, you've been the bearer of bad news for way too many days now.
I feel like the unpopular kid on the playground.
We love you. We just don't love your forecast always.
I know. There's hope on the horizon. I know I've been saying that for some time, but trust me on this one. We'll get into that in the long-range forecast. But I mean, morning lows, come on. Another one, minus 31 in Winnipeg first thing this morning. Brandon, minus 37. And yeah, another minus 40 on the map for Roblin overnight last night into the early morning hours. So it's got its grip on us. Albeit the extreme cold warning, the footprint not as big as it has been. It's starting to shrink ever so slightly as we start to see our pattern changing a little bit. Still, though, overnight could see wind chills colder than -40 in the Red River Valley and even colder than -45 into Westman once again. This is frostbite on exposed skin in minutes. So prepare for another cold one. Plug in the car. -27 overnight tonight in Winnipeg. Another sunny one tomorrow, -27 first thing in the morning and then up to -17 by the afternoon. This signals the start of that change toward warmer weather. We'll talk about how warm it gets when I come back.
All right. Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
They spent nearly 2 years working to create transitional housing for Steinbach's homeless population, but it could all be for nothing. More on that story straight ahead. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Stay with us. A vote at Steinbach City Council could determine the fate of an emergency homeless shelter. Plans were underway to build an overnight transitional housing facility on Main Street, but that could all change at a City Council meeting next month. CBC's Mike Arsenault has the story.
For the past 2 years, a group of people have been working to bring an overnight shelter to this empty space in Steinbach called the Initiative for Neighborly Nights, or IN. But a proposed city bylaw could prevent this building from ever seeing the light of day. The Inn would be overnight, low-barrier transitional housing for people experiencing homelessness. Work on the concept began in March of 2023, but in December of 2024, Steinbach City Council proposed bylaw changes that could impact the Inn's permit.
One, it's going to become conditional, and it wasn't before. We had permitted use when the land was purchased by our donor. It was a permitted use for what we wanted to do. The second thing that concerns us is the definition of emergency shelter.
Leona Dirksen worries trying to define who qualifies for emergency shelter could exclude some people, and requiring the Inn to apply for a conditional use permit will leave their fate in the hands of concerned community members.
I think the biggest concerns were around safety, and we've tried our best to explain that the presence of the Inn is only going to increase safety in our neighborhoods, not decrease.
The deputy mayor of Steinbach says changing the type of permit required for the Inn would give people in Steinbach a chance to be heard.
There will be a public hearing where the organization has an opportunity to explain their plans and the final version of it. And then the neighborhood gets official notifications, and people who live and work and have businesses in the area are able to attend.
Zwagstra says the city reviews bylaws every 5 years. Dirksen worries the bylaw changes could prevent the Inn from ever being built.
If the city is going to make their judgment in favor of the concerns of the people in the neighborhood, it could be indefinite before we find a neighborhood that says, hey, come build here, we'll welcome you.
The vote on proposed bylaw changes will happen next month. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Steinbach.
Hundreds of new affordable childcare spaces are being promised for Manitoba. The more than 700 new spots will be based in hospitals, schools, and post-secondary institutions. It's a partnership between the provincial and federal governments worth nearly $21 million. They say these will be high-quality and flexible childcare spaces for children up to 6 years old.
Know that access to childcare promotes equity by providing opportunities for more parents and caregivers to achieve their education and employment goals, while their children are able to reap the benefits of quality early learning environments.
The childcare spaces will be based at St. Boniface Hospital, Brandon Regional Health Centre and Riverview, and in 6 school divisions. There'll also be spaces at Red River College and University College of the North in Thompson. A proposal clearing the way to build affordable housing next to the Granite Curling Club passed a key vote at City Hall today. The plan has sparked fierce debate between members of the club and housing advocates. CBC's Cameron McLean reports.
The Granite Curling Club is almost as old as the city of Winnipeg. It's operated here at 22 Granite Way for more than a century. But members of the club's board say a plan to put housing on the parking lot beside the Heritage Building threatens their future. Today, Mayor Scott Gillingham and the Executive Policy Committee voted to subdivide and rezone the lot. Gillingham says he believes a solution to the club's concerns can be found.
I'm very confident there will be curling at the Granite Curling Club for many years to come. I want to see that.
Earlier this month, the Property Committee split the vote on the plan. The city owns both the club and the parking lot. It wants to separate the two in order to build a 111-unit affordable housing building. The club's board says the laws of parking would cost them members and money from renting the spaces. They want the city to guarantee them parking in the new development and financial support for maintenance of the Heritage Building. The motion today directed city staff to work with the club to address their concerns. But Secretary Christian Pierce isn't satisfied.
The motion does not provide much assurance to the Granite Curling Club as it's subject to the satisfaction of the city, who are the applicants in this situation. So essentially, the city needs to sign off on their plans.
Unlike at the Property Committee, the Executive Policy Committee voted unanimously today to approve the subdivision and rezoning of the Granite parking lot. The plan now moves on for a final vote at Council next week. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Residents in Transcona are heading back to the ballot box next month. The Premier says a by-election will be held on March 18th. It's to fill the vacant seat left after the passing of Nello Altamar. The former Education Minister died in January. Under Manitoba law, a by-election must be called within 6 months of a legislature seat becoming vacant. Well, a sure sign that spring could be here soon has arrived. The Amphibex ice cutting machines are on the way to the Red River. The ice jam mitigation program involves 3 Amphibex icebreakers and remote-controlled machines cutting up the ice from Netley Marsh to Selkirk. It reduces the risk of flooding from ice jams on the river in the spring. The first Amphibex was launched in 2006. Each year, it breaks up approximately 28 kilometers of ice, 100 meters wide. It's expected to be completed by March 15th. Riley back in now. And Riley, for weeks and weeks and weeks, it was Riley's weather roller coaster.
Yeah.
We were down in the trenches for what seems like forever.
Yes, I know.
There is hope. There is light. We are coming out of the cold.
I mean, not so much of a roller coaster ride, but more of a hill that we have to climb in the next few days to actually get to that. So I'm going to start with the temperature trend, and then we're going to work our way backwards and get back to that in the long range forecast. So let's run the numbers, and then we'll show you how we get there as we get into the next few days here. So here we go. So we're into the minus teens again for the next couple of days. And then you can see as we get into the weekend, and particularly on Friday, our change day, as we climb our way back above freezing and certainly well above seasonal for this time of the year as we get into early next week before we start to even our way out here closer to seasonal to start March. So a bit of a ride to go on here, a bit of a hill to climb to get to this +2, +1 into Monday, Tuesday. Here's what's going on. So first I'll show you the upper level winds, and what we've got going on is a couple of things. This high pressure system that has started to slip south of the border, that combined with the polar jet, the polar vortex that is now starting to recede back further north, what that did was create a bit of a block and really block anything else from kind of getting in the way and pushing this on. Now that the polar jet's starting to make its way a little bit further north, we're able to start getting some of that warmer air pushing into the prairie provinces as this cold sinks a little bit further south. So as we get into Friday, that's why I say this is a bit of our change day here. That's when we start to see the jet stream shifting ever so slightly to the east into Manitoba, and by the time we get into Saturday, Sunday, we're back onto the warm side of that jet stream. Two things that does. First off, brings in a lot of warm southerly Pacific air into the prairie provinces, but also increases our chances for some precipitation and maybe more dreary days as we get into the next few days, particularly into the weekend. So through Wednesday, another cold and sunny day, another bright day across the province, but you'll see as we get into Thursday here, as we start to see that change happening, we start to introduce a little bit more cloud cover, really province-wide, and even the chance of some precipitation as we get early into Friday morning for parts of northern Manitoba. So yes, the trade-off is more gray skies as we get into the weekend, but temperatures much more seasonal and much more bearable compared to some of these numbers. First thing in the morning, looking at -32 in Brandon, -27 in Winnipeg, feeling closer to -40 or colder with the wind chill into the early morning hours. So another bitterly cold one, and then Brittany, -15 for Thursday, -7 for Friday, bit of wind, and then there comes that change with some precipitation into the weekend.
Ooh, okay, looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, another night where you don't want to forget to plug in your car. A few more days to go. We have more to come after this. Stay with us. The investigation into what caused Monday's shocking crash landing is in full swing at Toronto's Pearson International Airport. Multiple agencies are trying to figure out if winter weather was to blame or something entirely different. But the fact that everyone escaped alive from that dramatic plane crash is astounding. Nicole Williams reports.
The terrifying moment the Delta Airlines plane came crashing down.
All of a sudden, I just remember being fully sideways.
Oh, no. New cell phone video shows it coming down hard, catching fire, skidding forward, and flipping over.
I was looking down and just seeing like sparks and flames and whatever was grinding against the ground. And then, yeah, it happened pretty dang quick, and we were just upside down hanging from our seatbelts.
Plumes of smoke rising into the air before crews arrived to douse the flames.
Drop it! Come on!
All 80 people on board coming from Minneapolis alive, but 21 were injured and taken to hospital, including one child. Many treated for head and back injuries and fuel exposure. Dozens of investigators now on site from the Transportation Safety Board of Canada and the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration to try and determine what went wrong.
On Thursday and Sunday, we got more than 20 inches, 50 centimeters of accumulated snow.
The airport's CEO says it was a brutal week for air travel, 2 snowstorms paralyzing hundreds of flights over the last week.
Monday was a clear day, though, and it was an operational recovery day for Toronto Pearson.
Toronto Tower, wind 270-23, gust 33, clear to line on rate 23, you might get a slight bump.
But this audio from air traffic control that day was warning pilots of tricky conditions on the runway.
You might get a slight bump in the glide path, there'll be an aircraft in front of it.
Winter airports, gusty conditions, it becomes more challenging. So make no mistake about it.
The fuselage of the plane is expected to remain on the tarmac for at least 2 days, forcing the closure of 2 of the airport's 5 runways to give investigators time to get to the bottom of the crash before it will be cleared away. More than 400 flights were canceled yesterday because of the plane crash, and that is on top of the ballooning backlog already created because of the 2 winter storms we had this past week. So airport officials are saying to expect delays in the days ahead and to check your flight status before you head to the airport. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Toronto.
U.S. President Donald Trump's drive to slash the federal workforce is pressing ahead, led by American billionaire Elon Musk. Their latest target, the federal agency that oversees U.S. banks and insures deposits. More than 500 employees there have been fired. But there's also concern over Musk's team trying to access people's personal tax records. Cameron McIntosh has the details from Washington.
Elon Musk continuing to move fast and break things here in Washington with another high-ranking resignation. Michelle King, acting commissioner for Social Security, left her job after resisting requests from Musk's so-called Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, to access the IRS's highly sensitive taxpayer data system, including tax, banking, and even health information. Now, Musk is alleging rampant fraud, claiming dead people are receiving Social Security payments, but has not provided evidence. Social Security payments account for about $1.5 trillion, or 1/5 of annual federal spending in the United States. Reportedly, King has been replaced by someone who will cooperate with Musk. Meanwhile, DOGE continues to lay off thousands over several federal departments. Many people receiving form emails simply saying they're done. Elizabeth Aniskovich is a now former lawyer at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
I have no information about exactly how long my health insurance will continue. I have not received forms that are necessary to file for unemployment. And there's just a lot of questions about what we are supposed to do next to take care of ourselves.
Now, the Trump administration says it wants to cut 10% of the federal workforce. Some departments are having trouble tracking it. Take the National Nuclear Security Administration. Over the weekend, it realized it was firing some of the people that monitor the nuclear weapons stockpile. It's trying to hire many back. Musk has said mistakes will be made, but is offering little in the way of accountability. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Washington.
Manitobans appear to be changing their buying habits and travel plans as the threat of a trade war with the United States looms. That's according to an online survey. Probe Research surveyed 600 people. More than 6 out of 10 Manitobans surveyed say they've canceled vacation plans to the States. And 3/4 of respondents say they plan to stop buying products made in the U.S. The owner of Brandon Green Spot Garden Center says he's already changing how he stocks the store based on the push to buy Canadian.
I think we will see more conversation about what's happening and people checking. We've already noticed people checking the tags and where is this made.
He says businesses will respond to what consumers want to buy. Manitoba posted the biggest jump in inflation among the provinces last month. Inflation here rose to 2.7% from 1.1% in December. The province's gas tax break ended in January, sending prices up 12.5 cents a litre. Nationally, Canada's inflation rose to 1.9% in January from 1.8%. Statistics Canada says higher energy costs were to blame, but that increase was offset by the federal government's tax holiday. The GST break led to lower prices for food, alcohol, and clothing. With the tax holiday now over, economists warn energy prices may have a larger impact on inflation in the months ahead. Police in Alberta are investigating after a newborn baby was killed in a dog attack. It happened in the small community of Entwistle, about 100 kilometers west of Edmonton. Police were called to a home on Sunday. They found a 2-week-old baby boy with life-threatening injuries after he was bitten by the family's pet dog. The boy was airlifted to hospital but didn't survive. It's unclear what breed the dog is. It's been surrendered to authorities for a veterinary evaluation. Top diplomats from Russia and the U.S. met in Saudi Arabia to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. They did so, however, without Ukrainian officials at the table. As CBC's Crystal Gamansing reports, those who were present vowed these talks are just the beginning.
The two sides met for more than 4 hours, the first face-to-face meeting between Russia and the U.S. since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The previous U.S. administration led Western allies to politically and economically isolate Russia to limit its abilities to fund its war on Ukraine. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State for the U.S., said officially restarting relations quickly was one of 4 points the two sides agreed to.
We're going to appoint our teams respectively to work very quickly to reestablish the functionality of our respective missions in Washington and in Moscow. For us to be able to continue to move down this road, we need to have diplomatic facilities that are operating and functioning normally. The second point is that we're going to appoint a high-level team from our end to help negotiate and work through the end of the conflict in Ukraine in a way that's enduring and acceptable to all the parties engaged.
For there to be enduring peace in Ukraine, the U.S. delegation acknowledged the need for security guarantees. Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, said Monday it would be ready and willing to put troops on the ground in Ukraine. Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, however, said NATO or foreign troops in Ukraine would not be acceptable to Russia. The possibility of easing restrictions on the Russian economy was welcomed by Kirill Dmitriev.
This dialogue of two, strategic powers in the world is very important, and the world is a much safer place now when this dialogue started to happen. So we'll have to see how it evolves over time, but definitely a very positive start. And by the way, Saudi played a really key role in providing good, opportunity for this dialogue.
Ukraine was not invited to these talks. Future invites have not been laid out. The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky again stated his country would not accept any deal made without Ukraine being present at the negotiating table, and that to him a diplomatic solution does not mean surrendering territory. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
The Vatican says the latest medical tests show Pope Francis has pneumonia in both lungs, but added that he remains in good spirits. He was hospitalized on Friday after his respiratory infection worsened. CBC's Megan Williams has the latest from Rome.
The latest update on Pope Francis's health came at 7:30 this evening, with the Vatican saying that the Pope's condition remains complex. It said the Pope had a chest X-ray and CAT scan revealing that he has pneumonia in both lungs. Francis was hospitalized on Friday for bronchitis and has taken a turn for the worse. The Vatican said the Pope's infection has developed against a backdrop of asthmatic bronchitis and bronchiectasis. Now, that's a chronic lung condition where airways are damaged, causing infection and a buildup of mucus. The Pope is being given corticosteroid and antibiotics, making the treatment complex. Despite having double pneumonia, the Vatican says that Pope Francis is in good spirits and that he spent the day resting, praying, and reading. Earlier in the day, the Vatican released a bulletin announcing that the Pope had accepted the resignation of Canadian Bishop Jean-Pierre Blais, who has been named in a class action lawsuit alleging sexual abuse. The Diocese of Baie-Comeau says his resignation has nothing to do with those allegations, which he denies. Franciscan priest Pierre Charlon has taken his place. Megan Williams, CBC News, Rome.
Well, if you're itching to get outside and you've ever looked at a sled dog team and wished you could take part, well, there's a cheaper, smaller scale version you can do in your community. That story and more when we come back. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Stay with us. Many people take it for granted, getting outside, hitting the trails, and connecting with nature. But for some, navigating the great outdoors comes with accessibility challenges. Now, a new trail on Vancouver Island is hoping to eliminate some of those barriers for people who are visually impaired. CBC's Claire Palmer takes us there.
This is Heather Hutchinson. Blind since birth, she's happy to be out on the trails.
Yeah, it definitely gives me a sense of independence. I feel like I could navigate out here by myself. It's very freeing.
Hutchison is able to enjoy the trail using this, a tapping rail, a low barrier on the side of the trail that she can use to help guide her cane. She says it's a game changer.
We know how important it is for people to get out in nature for mental and physical well-being. And so I'm super excited to find a place created for me that I can access.
Advocates say small changes like this are crucial for independence and accessibility. The Canadian National Institute for the Blind says accessibility is sometimes only thought of when things are necessities and not always for recreational purposes.
When we need to make things accessible, there's a big focus on the word need. So, what are the essential services that people have to have? I think also we can make the argument, though, make the case that quality of life is essential.
It's more than a want, really. It's a need. We need to be out in nature. We need the same access to information and places and activities as everybody else. We need to be out with our friends, with our families. So to me, it's not even that much of a want. It is a need.
The RDN says it's just one of many projects they're working on to make their trails more accessible.
We'll have barrier-free park systems so that people can enjoy the beautiful parks that we have. Many sights to see, many features, water access, ramps to get down to the water and beach areas.
Increasing accessibility in its parks was just one priority outlined in the RDN's Parks and Trail Strategy, which was completed in 2022 after public consultation. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Qualicum.
Well, there's still days, even weeks of digging out ahead for central and eastern Canada. Parts of Ontario and Quebec, including Canada's biggest cities, Toronto and Montreal, are tackling mountains of snow left over from the monster wallop on the weekend. Montreal got more than 40 centimeters, and the city says the sheer volume of snow has stalled its efforts to clear it all out. Toronto got up to 23 centimeters on top of an earlier snowstorm last Wednesday. The city says snow removal there could take up to 3 weeks. People in Atlantic Canada are also digging out after that storm blew through the region over the weekend, forcing many to pick up the shovel and, in some cases, an ice pick to clear roads and sidewalks. The storm caused widespread power outages and schools remained closed today, with strong winds disrupting travel on ferries, roads, and bridges. And then there's us on the prairies that deal with this, what feels like almost weekly sometimes in the winter.
If it makes you feel better, Key Lake, Saskatchewan, yesterday morning, the coldest place in Canada at minus 49 degrees.
My goodness. It does make me feel better. There's a lot of people going stir crazy. I've seen some people saying they kept their kids home from school today because it was just too much, a long weekend, kept cooped up.
Yes.
A lot of people just ready to get outside, Riley.
So, and we will, once we start to turn the page here. Toronto, by the way, has 46 centimeters of snow on the ground. Have a look at how that compares to Winnipeg. Right now, we've got officially at the airport just 4 centimeters on the ground, due in part to it's been so cold that we just really haven't had any precipitation. So not a lot of snow in the Red River Valley compared to elsewhere in Canada. I mean, still a pretty healthy snowpack into parts of northern Manitoba, into that 20 to 25 centimeter range, really anywhere from Dauphin north. But yeah, we're kind of lacking compared to seasonal. Usually by this time we should have about 17 centimeters on the ground in Winnipeg. So we're a little bit lacking, but you can see some of these colors here, the pinks, the whites. Heights into Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes. Yes, close to 50 centimeters on the ground in some places, particularly into the Laurentians and areas around Montreal and Toronto, as you saw there. All right, your dog walking forecast. Maybe by the end of the week, Hunter will not need the booties, the coat, or the toque, if you want to call it that, the headband. Thanks to the Wheatstone family from Kenora for sending this. And by the way, today is Hunter's 12th birthday, so happy birthday, Hunter. Minus 27 first thing in the morning. Yeah, another morning for the booties. Minus 17 by the afternoon. Maybe we see a few wind gusts up to 30, particularly into the evening hours, but really looking at a pretty similar day to today where we saw cold and sunny skies. Minus 20s, the best we did in Winnipeg today. Minus 23 in Brandon. Thompson getting up to minus 14 this afternoon. As you saw that polar vortex starting to retreat a little bit further north, allowing just some slightly warmer air into northern Manitoba. Nonetheless, still another very cold night tonight, minus 27 overnight in Winnipeg. Still Melita, minus 37 overnight tonight, minus 33 in Brandon, closer to minus 45 with the wind chill overnight tonight. Thompson, minus 24, minus 23 in Gillam. So some slightly warmer air into northern Manitoba. That is what's coming to southern Manitoba. We just have to give it some time to get there. By lunchtime, Thompson's at minus 17, getting up to minus 13 by the afternoon. Again, a sunny start to the day, but slightly warmer first thing into northwestern Ontario, where we did see a little bit of cloud cover from a system south of the border, but still a very cold day tomorrow, particularly into Westman, minus 27 in Verdun at lunchtime tomorrow, minus 21 in Dauphin and Winnipeg, getting up to about minus 22 for Brandon into the afternoon. Winnipeg, the Red River Valley into the Interlake, looking at temperatures around minus 17. Okay, I know, it's the middle of February and it's been ridiculously cold, but many find joy in the weather by bundling up and doing activities like curling outdoors, ice racing, disc golfing, making an igloo.
Some people.
Yeah.
Now we've got something that will certainly warm everyone's heart, especially if you're a dog lover. We sent CBC's Jim Agapito to Birds Hill Park to try his hand at mushing on a kick sled.
Tansé, bonjour, bonjour, hello. It's Asmara Polsine I'm a coordinator with the Snow Motion Kick Sledding and Skijoring Winter Dog Sports Association of Manitoba. And we are here today to do a little bit of kick sledding and skijoring with the dogs. Okay, Bob, come on out, sir. Here's our guy.
Aw.
There's Bob. Hey, Bob.
How do you get a person like me
Right.
to enjoy winter more, like doing something like this?
There's no need to reinvent the wheel or the dog sled, basically. So you're around a group of people who've been doing this sort of thing for 25 years. We usually vary between sort of 30 to 60 club members in a year. And we get out here together and have a good time doing it. So what we have got here is a Nahak dog sled made from a Canadian company out in Quebec. This is about a $500 to $600 sled. It's very light. So this is a great sled if you have one family dog and a sedan. So just the sort of thing that keeps this sport a little bit more accessible. So just for experimental sake, I'm going to pull you.
Okay.
And you're going to try out that brake. I can't move you.
No.
Nope. All right, we'll try without the, oh, there we go.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you just glide.
All right. I can't say that I always loved winter. I was lucky enough to see the big sled dog teams at Festival de Voyageurs a few years back, where they used to start the races down at the Forks.
All right.
It changed my life. I just, to hear those dogs yelling and jumping because they're so excited to start, to see that they had a little stand there, and so I picked up the belt and the harnesses for the dog, and then actually went and sat in a field with no incline on a very cold day with dogs who'd never been in harness before, in my little Canadian Tire plastic sled, and tried to get them to pull me. That's how not to do it.
So where does this go on here?
So this is attached to the bridle of the sled, which is attached here to those upper stanchions. And as you can see, they're kind of getting the idea of what's about to happen next.
So they're excited.
They're excited. Hang on to your sled, put your brakes on.
Okay.
I'm gonna get your team lined out here. Okay. Do not let go of that brake for me.
You got it.
Okay. Okay, come on off. All right, hang on, Ted. Ted, just wait,
He's
please.
excited, huh?
Just wait. Yeah, he would prefer to be running than standing. That is for sure. So I'm gonna get a good grip on Ted. Here we are.
3, 2, 1.
Oh. Quick.
Wow, these guys go.
I did my first race, I think about 2011, 2012 or so. I've been fortunate to have very good dogs who have a lot of drive and are interested in really going down that trail. And so they've hauled my sorry butt on skis behind them. But now we're getting to a point where my skiing has improved, and so I can actually help the dogs out a little bit. We get together with a family dog on weekends and we hook them up to either a sled, pair of skis. We come on out here and we enjoy this beautiful atmosphere. Gee! Gee! So no more sitting in a field by yourself with a single tear freezing to your cheek. Instead, you've got a group of friends that you're doing this all with. Sometimes still scratching your head at 8 o'clock in the morning as you start, getting things ready to come out here, because it is darn cold. Can you hear that?
Yep.
So that's who else really enjoys snow motion, is the dogs. And it's the real reason that we're out here today, is for these dogs.
Let's go home. Let's go home. Let's go home. Let's go home.
Woo! Nice work today, Jim.
Buying or selling a home? We'll show you a unique approach one Ontario realtor is taking to help her listings gain traction. Plus, Riley's back with a last check on the forecast. Stay with us. It's been 4 years to the day since NASA's rover Perseverance landed on Mars. Percy, as some call it, is on the red planet collecting rock samples and searching for signs of ancient life. And its latest find has scientists sending the rover backtracking to collect more samples from an area it's already scoured. Now, the team's excitement is over this rock texture that looks like cookies and cream. The pattern suggests possible evidence of water in the distant past, and they could be the oldest rocks ever found on Mars.
Well, back on this planet, we're looking at a very chilly minus 17 in the afternoon tomorrow. Not as cold as it was today, but certainly still about 10 degrees below seasonal for this time of the year. Northwest winds gusting to 20 as we get through the afternoon, up to minus 15 for Thursday. And there's that warm up. And with that comes a bit of instability as we get Friday into Saturday. Into Sunday, you'll notice minus 2 on the way for Saturday, up to plus 2 by the time we get to Monday. And we're looking at some wind as we get into next week as well. And temperatures staying above seasonal into the middle of next week. Well, when you're selling your home, you probably want to try at least make it stand out from the rest to some degree. A realtor near Windsor, Ontario, though, is trying to rise above all of that noise on social media.
Her quirky take on selling homes is our daily lift.
Welcome. I bet you're wondering what the I'm up to today. I'm listing this house at 171 Cornhill. Come take a look.
I do a lot of tracking for my statistics on videos and posts, and I was noticing less than 500 views, and of those views, most people didn't get past that 10-15 second mark.
This room is longer than 2 Jackies.
So I really was following other content creators and real estate agents to find what I thought was going to be something that would be entertaining, something that would bring viewers to want to view my content.
This is a bathroom. Bonus, it has a removable faucet head, so you can wash your rat with fur in comfort.
I think that if you're challenging yourself and you're trying something new, then go for it.
Okay. So she does have permission from her clients to make those videos like that, and they love them. So
I just want to know if it translates into actual sales or if people are just watching it because they think it's fun.
And what is a rat with fur?
Either way, she's
cat?
not going to need that fancy jacket here come the weekend. So we just need to make it through a few more days, folks.
Yes, we can do it.
And we'll
we
see
can do
you
it.
back here tomorrow. Have a great night.
Have a good one.